Hello and welcome to the Par 3 presented by TheLines.com. Matt Brown, Steven Andress coming to you each and every week. 3 plays from me, 3 plays from Steven. Quick and to the point and get you on out of here. If you want the full details and breakdown of the course, the tournament, the stats, all the things like that, head over to TheLines.com and take a look at John's article over there. It is definitely one of the very best in the entire industry. Quick reminder, everything we do absolutely free, so do appreciate you guys subscribing, hitting that thumbs up button, and then any commentary you want to do in the comment section is great with us. Steven, you're on the box, my friend.
All right, so I ran numbers this week, and I actually came out with Scottie Scheffler at plus 275 as fair odds, believe it or not. So Every one of my bets in this week's video are very specifically for the winner without Scottie market. I want no piece of going against him. So the first one is Tom Hoge, and you can get 33-1 in the winner without Scottie market. A couple of reasons why here, Matt. I think this week elite iron play is important. I think accuracy off the tee is far more important than power off the tee. And I think you got to make a few putts here if you look at what's happened in the past. And I know I'm not the first and I won't be the last this week to talk about Mr. Hoge, but if you look at the last 36 rounds here, Scottie Scheffler's number 1 in the modeling subscription that I have, and Hoge is number 3. Ranks number 2 in strokes gained and approach, number 2 on par 4s from 450 to 500. And we know he's a winner. He's won at Pebble Beach, another shorter course on the tour. So it's not like I'm getting an unknown guy who's never won on the PGA Tour before. I know he's been able to do it, and I know his irons can get red hot and carry him into contention.
Yeah, Hoge 6th overall in one of mine, 9th overall in the other. Really the only thing holding him back, and we don't expect it to be a big thing here. He's just not great off the tee. But this is supposed to be a less than driver course here. That being said, Sam Burns did win this event by hitting driver nearly 75% of the time. So it's not 100% that this is going to be less than driver for all these guys, but I think a guy like Hoge, who doesn't drive it very well, will choose to go less than driver a lot of times. And maybe some of these stats that would hold you back from betting Hoge, again, in this field, 98th in total driving over the last 36, 101st in strokes gained off the tee over the last 24 for him in this field, but everything else he rates out so incredibly well. So hopefully he keeps that driver in the bag there, Steven, pulls out that 3 wood, pulls out that 5 wood, pulls out whatever it is, and can do what he needs to do. Kind of the same deal for me on the guy that I'm going to be playing here. Not one of the dudes that's like known for being super long, not one of the guys that's really known for doing anything exceptionally well, really. But Aaron Rai rates out second to only Scottie Scheffler in my model. One of my models this week, and over in the other, he is 3rd. So he is 2nd and 3rd in the 2 different versions of the model that I ran this week. If you look, you go through on approach, Rai red hot over the last 6, 7, 8 tournaments, something like that. If you look at his approach numbers, he's going to be somewhere in the top 5, if not in the top 3 across the board here. If you look at the driving accuracy, which I weighed really heavily this week, 2nd in fairways gained, 3rd in good drive percentage. Greens and regulation are going to be important because if you look the history you mentioned, we played here it's not always been the Charles Schwab, but it's at least been at Colonial for a very long time. And people that hit the greens here because they're small, like people that can hold the greens and just go ahead and be able to have a putt at it, tend to have a ton of success. And if you look at his greens gained, he's actually 3rd overall in this field as well over the last 36 rounds. So Aaron Rai, look, it'll be a sprinkle on outright. I expect Scottie Scheffler to win, right? I mean, there's no way for us to expect anything otherwise, Steven. So, yeah, there'll be a sprinkle on Rai outright, mainly investing here in kind of like these top 10, top 20 markets this week.
Rai did make my winner without Scottie Scheffler card this week. Still got 45-1 on him despite removing Scheffler from the odds, so I was pretty pleased with that. And I think, John Hasselbauer said this a lot, Matt. A guy that when he spikes for a course fit, you got to play him first round leader too. He's had a lot of top 5 first round leader situations in the past. So I love the look on Aaron Rai there. Number 2 for me is a guy who actually just missed the cut at the PGA Championship. It's Sepp Straka, but despite missing the cut, he still gained more than 4 strokes on approach after doing it again the week before at the Wells Fargo. Gained more than 3.5 strokes on approach at the RBC. So 3 straight events here with very strong iron play, gaining and putting in 3 of his last 4 measured events in strokes gained. We don't have his putting results from the Masters, but he finished top 20 at the Masters. I think this is a really good fit for Straka. If you go kind of long term here, last 50, last 36 rounds, he may not spike as much for you, but if you go last 24 rounds, he certainly gets into the mix here. And another guy who we've seen win on courses where accuracy from tee to green is certainly at a premium. The Honda down at PGA National in Florida with all of that water. He won there with gaining more than 3 strokes on approach and gaining more than 6 putting. When he's won a couple of times in his career, it's been when he's had a spike putting week to go with that decent approach play. So I certainly think it's in the range of outcomes that he continues his strong approach game, and we get one of those spike putting weeks that we haven't quite seen yet this season, but we have seen in years past.
My second play is the Woo, Siwoo Kim, a guy that you don't really think about as far as being super long or super anything like that off the tee. Well, we're not worried about that this week. We're worried about a guy who's going to be putting it in the fairway, who's going to be pretty accurate. And weirdly enough, Steven, despite the fact that he's not one of the longest guys on tour, he gains off the tee. He's just really, really good at maximizing what he does do. And if you look at total driving this week, which is a mixture of driving distance and accuracy, Siwoo Kim is 8th overall in this field in total driving. And again, he's not one of the longer guys out there. That lets you know how accurate he is and how much he maximizes what distance he does get out of that driver of his. Great on approach, great, pretty good, great good drive percentage. If you look at all of that, the only thing you don't really like about him, he doesn't scramble all that well. But hey, Steven, if he's hitting the greens, then we won't have to worry about him scrambling. You don't want the Woo trying to get up and down. But if the Woo can keep from having to get up and down, I think he can have a pretty good week this week as well. Again, guy that is really just green numbers across the board for him. 8th overall in one of my models and all the way up at 3rd overall in the other. So tons to like about Siwoo this week. Again, sprinkling on the outright, totally expect Scotty Scheffler to win, but investing pretty heavily in the top 10, top 20 markets. As always, a reminder, if this bothers you getting chopped up, remember to go to a book that gives you ties pay in full.
Yeah, absolutely. Siwoo definitely popped for me too. Didn't get there on the winner without Scotty outright that I was betting this week, just because I always fear his putting, but certainly a very prime contender for those placement markets, as you said. So I completely agree with you there. Finally, for me, a guy that won't be any surprise if you've been watching this show over the course of the season, Akshay Bhatia, 40-1 in the winner without Scotty market. I got him 50-1 earlier.
One of the two of us has bet his ass every single week.
Seriously,
like
man.
If he ever, when you come to Vegas, I'm going to get Steven to come out or whatever. Like, let's go and have a cocktail or something. You owe us one. Listen.
Yeah, I was at PGA Championship last week. I yelled to him past the ropes that thanked him for the outright in the Valero Texas Open. Gave me a little, finger in the air. So my man Bhatia, how can you not like a guy who picks up his caddy on Instagram and takes her to the Bahamas and now is going to marry her? Like that's the stuff that dreams are made of, my friend. So Bhatia now, if you look at last 24 rounds, he actually rates out number 2 for me behind Scotty. It's not just the storyline and how much fun he is. This lefty is number 2 last 24 rounds on approach overall, number 2 on par 4s from 400 to 450, from par 3s 200 to 225, number 3 in double bogey avoidance. The one thing we haven't mentioned here is that scoring to par this week should be a lot more difficult than what we saw on a major championship last week. The traditional score here has typically been well under 15 under par for the winner. And if we look at long iron play from 175 to 200, he's number 4 in that category over the past 24 rounds. So, Bhatia is a guy who still hasn't developed great length off the tee at his young age, but he's an excellent ball striker. The accuracy is typically never an issue for him. And if we're playing smaller greens here, if we get him on the green, this new broomstick putter has leveled out his putting from years past. I love the number, even though he's already won this year.
Yeah, I should have mentioned whenever you mentioned Sepp Straka, another guy that rated out very highly for me as well. So just wanted to let people know that you weren't on an island there when it came to Sepp Straka. My last play was coming down to 2 different guys. And I really, this one is a guy that I had to dig into a little bit more, Steven. I had to figure out why he was rating as highly as he was for me. And this is definitely a placement market play, guys. But if you go in and all of the stuff that I was looking for, all the stuff that I rated this week, all the stuff that I loved over and over and over again, Chan Kim kept popping up for me. And you had to go in, you had to really take a look at at what's going on and why I would be looking, why Chan Kim would be popping. But then you go in and you take a look at this guy, and it's like, hey, we got a T6 down in Punta Cana. We got a T14 at the Valero on Chan Kim. We got a T8, by the way, back at the Mexico Open. What do these all have in common? Yeah, they are some of the weaker field. While Scottie Scheffler is in this field, and while there are a couple of big names, Steven, the overall depth of this field is not near what we have seen over the last few weeks. And so with that, I take a guy that has been able to kind of go into some of these weaker fields and been able to claw his way into a top 20, top 30, top 40 type play for Chan Kim. And so a guy that, if you look, it's kind of one of those deals from a stat profile that it's just weird the way that he popped up, but it's a guy that I like this week. He is really good on approach of late, really good on par fours of late, really good at scrambling of late. Now, longer irons leave something to be desired, but listen, not everybody's going to be everything except unless you're Scottie Scheffler. Like nobody's going to have just bright green across the board unless you're Scottie. So for the most part, and a guy specifically if you're playing DFS out there, he's 6,300 over at DraftKings. Maybe a guy that you can kind of round out your lineups with this week, but certainly someone I'm going to have in a top 40, maybe even a YOLO kind of play on a top 20 with him. But a dude that I like. The other guy that barely missed the cut for me talking about here was Nate Lashley, another guy that was just popping really highly in the model, someone that will be on my card this week as well.
If you think Matt's crazy for mentioning Chan Kim, I would just invite you to go to the lines.com homepage, top right corner, hit that Discord button, go to the Golf Staff Bets channel, and just see who else might have bet in Chan Kim this week.
Did you bet Chan Kim?
I did not.
Oh.
But somebody else on our staff did.
Oh.
Somebody I very much respect.
Look at that. Isn't that something else?
Look at you guys.
Yeah. You know what's weird? I mean, he's 12th overall he's 12th overall in my 24 round model. Like 12th.
I mean, the irons are great, right? The irons are fantastic. If you look at what he's done, I'm looking at his profile and he's lost strokes with his irons like once all season.
Yeah,
so
and you kind of
great starting point.
Yeah, and you kind of look and it's just like, even off the tee, he's all right. He's kind of, I don't know. There's just a lot that it just piqued my interest.
The putting sucks, right? Like he's not a great putter, but these are small greens, and if he's flushing it, then sometimes you see that all the time with Colin Morikawa. I mean, then Sunday happens and he doesn't make a single putt, but that's how you get a guy like that into contention.
Yeah, and again, we're not expecting him to win. We're just expecting, we're looking to cash some plus money stuff on top 40s and top 20s and things like that, and maybe make some money over in DFS as well if you play DFS. Guys, everything we do absolutely free, so do appreciate your support. Hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, go down in the comments, let us know what's going on, or if you just want to talk about this back and forth with a whole bunch of people who dig this as much as you do, head over to the Discord channel, lines.com, upper right-hand corner. That is also absolutely free. We have conversations going on, not just about golf, but any sport that is going on, any sporting event that is coming up. You can find some good discussion over there with some other people who are as interested in all of this as you are. For Steven, I am Matt. Good luck on all your Charles Schwab bets.